This is the zone battle mode in the upcoming release of Tetris Effect Connected. This is Kirby703, one of the best zone players in the world, trying out using the zone in a multiplayer mode for the first time. I'm currently playing against her in a preview copy of the game to see just how big of an attack is possible. But to rewind a little bit, what is the zone? And what is the zone battle? So the zone originally debuted in the first edition of Tetris Effect in 2018. Tetris Effect was introducing a huge amount of features to enhance the overall aesthetic of playing Tetris, with interactive environments and sound effects every time you moved pieces or cleared lines. The zone, however, was the one unique feature added to the gameplay itself. In a standard game of Tetris, the biggest number of lines you can clear at once is 4, with the line piece, a Tetris line clear, which is the namesake of the game. In Tetris Effect, as you clear certain benchmarks of lines, a zone meter will fill up in the bottom left corner. Once you choose to enter the zone, the rules change. Gravity stops, and any lines you complete no longer disappear but remain at the bottom of the stack. If you clear lines in the middle, they will travel to the bottom of the stack. To a player used to other versions of Tetris, the zone kind of requires a counterintuitive way of stacking at the top. You have to avoid placing pieces where they would block the next piece from spawning because the stack doesn't go down in height when you complete a line. The zone ends when your zone meter runs out or your next piece doesn't fit on the matrix. However many lines you completed are added together and cleared all at once. With Kirby as the resident expert going into the demo, I asked her beforehand what her best strategies had been when she originally played Tetris Effect.
So I'd fill up my zone meter all the way to full, and then I'd have 20 seconds to put down a bunch of blocks. Obviously, I wanted to start with some sort of stack, but not a one wide well, because then I'd need a bunch of eyepieces to fill it. So I found out 2 wides, 3 wides, 4 wides. These were all good shapes to have, as long as most of your stack was filled in.
Now it was time to try it out in the zone battle and see what could be done with it. So how does zone battle work? Well, in standard multiplayer Tetris with garbage sending, the goal is to perform various feats in your matrix that turn into attacks of a certain number of lines of garbage that will appear in your opponent's matrix and push them closer to topping out. Generally, the more difficult or noteworthy the feat, the more lines of garbage you send. The smallest attacks, such as a double, only send a single line of garbage. They get bigger and bigger, and typically the biggest attack you can do is an all clear where you completely empty your matrix and send over 10 lines of garbage as a result, enough to fill up half of the 20-line matrix.
Okay, perfect clears send a fair bit.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's what that was. It's like, how'd you send that much that fast?
And yes, I know, my form is all wrong. I'm from an NES Tetris background. I was basically there as cannon fodder. But anyways, that attack was pretty big, but since this was the first time we were getting to see the zone in action in a multiplayer version of Tetris, there were sure to be bigger attacks on the horizon. I'd been told that the zone attacks were a combination of how many lines you cleared in the zone with a bonus depending on how much your zone meter was charged plus the value of any other attacks. And as we played, we were already seeing some massive attacks when Kirby would clear big zones.
All right, well, I'm gonna top out from this.
Oh man.
My goodness, I saw that my whole board was just
It just went up.
extending off the screen.
Now, it's not an automatic loss when your opponent sends you something like that, as the attack exists in your hold queue for a little while, and if you can launch some attacks back, it will mitigate the damage. Starting out, my first instinct when I would see an enormous attack would be to enter the zone in a panic, but I quickly realized that if I had a low zone charge, I wouldn't have much of a bonus, and this would only delay the inevitable. It quickly became clear that keeping your zone at a near maximum charge is very important for having a chance to survive.
All right, 17.
19 here.
Okay, all right, how much is it gonna kill me over that?
Not any, it looks like. You seem to be doing just fine.
It gave me 2 lines.
So what's the biggest possible zone clear? The names start changing when you reach 8 lines, which is an octotris. 10 lines is a decatris, 12 is a dodecatris, 16 is a decahexatris, and 18 is a perfectris.
Casual players could probably pull 18 for the PlayStation 4 achievement, and some of the best players can pull 20 zone lines.
At first glance, the upper limit might appear to be the 20-line ultimatris, which requires filling up the entire length of the playfield. But when Kirby played the original Tetris Effect, she hadn't been satisfied with just 20 lines.
What motivated you to try for more than 20 lines? And what was the process in trying to get more?
Well, I think the motivator was zone lines were this new challenge I was presented with, and I wanted to see how far it could go. So you can stack up above the board. You just can't put pieces all the way above row 20. They have to be somewhat below it for them to not lock you out.
But even with this extra material above the playfield, the endgame of the zone needs to be meticulously planned to have every piece fit together perfectly in the center.
We initially thought 21 zone lines would be done with like an O piece last in the middle. Maybe you'd have 3 columns where the pieces spawn in the middle, just empty. You'd fill in one with a J, and then you'd fill in the last 2 with an O. And we're like, okay, that's gonna be a good way. We're gonna have 21 zone lines. That'll be as much as you can easily get.
In Kirby's first successful attempt though, the final piece would actually be a J, perfectly completing the top 3 lines for the first ever 21 line clear.
I got it. I posted it. I remember Mark McDonald in particular was very surprised that someone actually pulled it off. There's a tweet by Mark. He's like, wow, we didn't expect anyone to do this. It came up in development as theoretically possible, but so unlikely that we didn't bother putting a name to it.
But in a subsequent update of the game, Kirby discovered that they had added a new name for a 21 line clear.
I'm flattered because they named it the Kirtris, so that was nice. It's official. If you clear 21 lines in PlayStation 4 and the Epic version, it'll announce Kirtris.
So naturally, the big question in my mind was how big of an attack could you send if you got a Kirbtris? Eventually, we adopted a different strategy in the demo, and I just focused on stalling so I wouldn't send any garbage or top out before Kirby had a chance to set up the Kirbtris. But it was tough. After many attempts, she managed to set up an Ultimatris.
Here we go. Ultimatris.
Oh my goodness.
20 lines. 34 attack, it looks like.
Wow.
By the end of the session though, that one Ultimatris would be the biggest attack Kirby had cleared.
Well, that sucks.
Oh no.
It seems that finding out what the Kirbtris would do would have to wait. But then, a week later, I got a notification that Kirby had sent me some footage. Playing against an AI opponent, she had set up a 4-wide well, and, well, I'll let it speak for itself. Kirby had gotten the Kirbtris for an unbelievable 66-line attack, enough to fill up an opponent's matrix more than 3 times over, and dwarfing any other attack in Zone Battle than we'd ever seen. So the Zone Battle has just been released within Tetris Effect Connected, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the top pro players are going to be able to do in this mode, and if anybody's going to be able to beat a 66-line attack in an actual match. It's definitely possible. Kirby has managed to clear 22 lines in the original Tetris Effect and even laid the groundwork for a theoretical 23 lines. But that's even more complicated, and perhaps it's a topic for a follow-up video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the last deep dive video about the final 2 modes in Tetris Effect Connected very soon.